Hello and welcome to Homegrown KC, a podcast dedicated to exploring Kansas City's fascinating history and sharing stories from its rich past. I'm your host, Laura. Today I'm joined by the Kansas Connection librarian of the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library, and Lacey.
Hello.
And so glad we finally got the technology stuff figured out.
Yes, it's always a challenge.
So the first thing that I like to ask is, will you tell us what your story is? Like, how did you get involved in history or like start liking history? Where do you come from? And how did you get started at the library? All that stuff.
Okay, well, I took sort of the winding path to libraries and archives, but it's a place that it really makes sense that I ended up because my grandmother was very interested in history, and she was a genealogist, and she took me, I grew up in Nebraska. She took me to probably every cemetery and historic site in the southeastern part of the state. So from a very young age, because of that, I was really interested in history, local history, family history. But my education, my background is in art and art history. So when I moved to Kansas City, I worked for arts organizations for several years, and I was working at the Nelson Atkins Museum when I saw a job posting for a position in the Spencer Art Reference Library at the museum, and I read the job description and thought, yes, 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 okay, this is what I need to do. Where do I go to get a master's in library science? So I enrolled in library school and got my master's degree, and I started my first library job here at the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library as the Arts and Humanities librarian, and I coordinated art exhibits and did arts and humanities programming at the West Wyandotte branch. And then again, another position open at the main library in the special collections and archives, and that's always interested me. So I jumped at the chance to do this, and here I am. I've been working in the Kansas room at the main library since 2016.
Okay. So you worked at the Nelson Atkins. That's super cool. What were you doing there?
I worked in external affairs and in membership and development.
Okay. So external affairs, is that like events programming?
Yeah, events, fundraising, working with donors and different departments to coordinate events, that kind of thing.
Okay. Makes sense. That would be paired
Yeah.
with membership.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I just finished a very long, like 7-part, 8-part episode on the Nelson Atkins.
I saw that,
earlier
and I
this year.
definitely want to go back and listen to that.
And then you said that you did arts programming and exhibits at the library. I didn't realize
Yes.
they did that.
Yeah, the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library, like a lot of libraries, I think, in the 50s and 60s had art collections that would check out and circulate. You could check out a painting or, a replica of a painting, not the actual original painting. But so there was an art
Okay, for a
department.
second I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. There was an art department at the main library when it first opened. So it had that circulating collection, and it had a permanent collection for the library. So the library collected artwork of local artists. And there was an art librarian there was an art reference desk. And when the West Wyandotte branch opened in the 1980s, they moved the art department out there. So for a long time, Kansas City, Kansas Public Library has had, a focus on art reference and art. So there is a permanent collection at the library. And I think because of that art background or art focus, there is also space at each of the 5 branches to display artwork. So local artists can apply to have a show at any of the 5 branches. And that was always really fun to coordinate. Got to meet a lot of really great local artists that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was it like getting an IMLS degree?
Well, so I got my MLS from Emporia State, and I was the first cohort in Overland Park, which was great because I thought that I was going to have to go to Emporia to do it. So we had intensive weekend classes a couple of times a semester, and then the rest of it was online, and a lot of people from around the metro and a little bit wider circle. Emporia State has, I think, maybe three cohorts around the country. So yeah, it was a great experience. I did it while I was working full time, which was a challenge, but I didn't have kids back then, so that made it a little bit easier. Yeah, and it took me
Still
about
quite a challenge, though.
yeah, it took me about 2.5 years, or yeah, I think that's right, 2.5 years to complete that degree.
All right. Well, so you're at the Kansas room. Can you tell us what
hmm
that is?
Yeah, the Kansas Room is the local history special collections at KCKPL, and I think probably about as long as the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library has existed. There's been some sort of local history collection of books. I think the Kansas Room even dates back to the Carnegie Library that opened in 1904, before the current main library existed.
That's cool.
And so um, we have all of our history books on Kansas, our special collections related to local history, any kind of resource about Kansas or Wyandotte County we have here in the Kansas Room.
So, what do you have in your collections then?
I mean, the probably the bulk of the collection is history books, but one of the most frequently used resources we have are the Wyandotte County Public Schools yearbook collection. So, and that's something that in the past couple of years we've spent a lot of time digitizing. So we have I think about 2,000 yearbooks in that collection, and they're all on our website now. And you can actually go and download the full PDF of a yearbook. And that's such a great tool for people doing research on Kansas City, Kansas, or a lot of people who are doing genealogy research, we'll look at the yearbooks to find, photographs of ancestors. So that is a very heavily used collection. And we have a photograph collection. We have some manuscript collections, collections of letters, all kinds of things. We have kind of an old-fashioned vertical file where, since the 1920s or 30s, librarians would clip actual articles out of the newspaper and keep them in vertical files. So we still have that. We're not adding to it anymore, of course. What else? City directories. That's something that people use a lot when they're researching the history of their house or doing genealogy research. Map collection. Yeah, there's tons here.
Well, I was introduced to the Kansas room because of the all your collections dealing with the Wyandotte Nation. So, can you talk about that?
Yes. So the library is home to a manuscript collection of historic materials related to the Wyandotte Nation and their removal from Ohio to Kansas. So it documents that period from about the 1820s, really until about 1900. And there are, primary source documents, letters, journals, photographs. There's also other materials like newspaper clippings or magazine articles. But it's a really, really rich resource for understanding that history of the Wyandottes and their, how they came to be in Kansas.
And remind me how you got it. It was the granddaughter of
So
Armstrong?
No, so there was a historian named William Conley who was really interested
Conley, that
in,
was it.
yeah, he was interested in Kansas history. He was actually from Kentucky, but came here in the 1870s, I think, to Wyandotte County. He was a part of the Kansas Historical Society. I think he was the secretary of the Kansas Historical Society. So he collected all kinds of materials because he was writing books on Kansas history. So he wrote about, Native American tribes in Kansas. He wrote about, Quantrill's raid. He wrote about Wyandotte County history, all kinds of, various subjects related to Kansas history. So he amassed this huge collection of materials. And after he died, the Board of Education USD 500 Board of Education purchased the portion of materials related to Wyandotte County. So that's how it happened to come to the library.
Okay.
And the really exciting thing is that we have partnered with the Wyandotte Nation. They applied for a grant through the Institute of Museum and Library Services to digitize the entire collection. So that started in September, and the funds from that grant have allowed us to hire 2 part-time people who have scanned probably 10 to 12,000 individual pages of documents and photographs, and now they are working on creating all of the metadata and transcribing some of the 19th century documents. And the goal of this project is to have all of these materials uploaded to a website, the Wyandotte Heritage Digital Archive, which is not yet live and ready to go, but will be probably by the end of next year. And there are other archives and institutions that are contributing their digitized Wyandotte materials to it well. So it'll be a huge database of Wyandotte history that'll be accessible by anyone from anywhere at any time. So super exciting project that we're thrilled to be working on.
Yeah, that is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So how far along do you think the team is? Like, they're got 50% uploaded and scanned?
So
Less,
everything is
more?
scanned. Everything is scanned. I think they're about halfway done with the metadata, which is so important to capture all of that, all of the information about each document, so that you can actually search for it, do keyword searches. So that's what's going to make it accessible, and the better and more robust. Gosh, this is such a nerdy librarian subject. The more robust the metadata, the easier it will be to find whatever a researcher or Wyandotte tribal member. It'll be easier for them to find these materials.
Mm-hmm.
So over the next year, I think there's the grant is in 2 phases, year 1, year 2. Year 1 was about digitizing and metadata, and year 2 will be about uploading all of the material. So it's supposed to be ready by fall of 2023.
Okay. And this is a separate website is being created,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got multiple historical societies and whatnot donating, as you said.
Yes.
So what program is being used for the metadata? Like, how are you coordinating that with the other groups?
Well, right now we're all just putting all the metadata into an Excel spreadsheet, and it'll be uploaded into Omeka, which is the digital content management system that will host all of this. And it'll be hosted by the actual Omeka site will be hosted by the Wyandotte Nation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of leads into what I was going to ask next was, like, who is building the website? So is the Wyandotte Nation building the website with Omeka?
So they are working with Bob Wicks, who is a retired professor of history at Miami University in Ohio, and this is his. He kind of came up with the idea for this website as he was doing research on Wyandotte history, and found that there were so many materials in disparate collections that it would be really great to have everything kind of digitized and available in one space. So he is the consultant for the project, and he is going to be he's the one that's kind of working out how Omeka is going to work and get everything uploaded into that database.
Okay, good. Well, I wish him luck. I had to use that for a project once in undergrad, and I was not trained on it. They're just like, here, do this, and I had to figure it out, and it was not easy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we use it here for our digital collections in the Kansas room, but it's not the full-blown Omeka. It's more of an Omeka Lite, so it's actually very user-friendly. But we've used it as well. So
what is a day in the life like for you? Like, what do you do on an average day?
Oh gosh. Well, I usually am, working in the Kansas room only has about 6 open hours during the week. So we're open Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons and by appointment. So, either I'm in the Kansas room for reference hours, or I'm answering. I do a lot of the reference work I do is via email because we're not open all the hours that the library is open. So I get emails from local people or for people all around the country doing research or that have questions about Wyandotte County history. I'm probably emailing with people and planning programs because we do a lot of local history programs, writing blog posts, or I'll often do one-on-one genealogy sessions, either in person or via Zoom, or I'm working with the digitization specialists that are doing the IMLS Wyandotte project, or digitizing photographs. There's those are just a few of the things.
What kind of programming have you done recently?
The last big program we did was it was with the Johnson County Museum and their redlined exhibit. They asked a number of organizations around the metro to partner with them on programs to really expand the reach of the exhibit. So we hosted Richard Rothstein, who wrote the book The Color of Law, and had a great program with him.
Oh, that does sound really good. That was a really good book.
Oh, it is a really important book, and the exhibit at the Johnson County Museum is fantastic, and it was great to work with Andrew Gustafson on that and be a part of that project.
Yeah, he is great. He
Mm-hmm.
is just so knowledgeable, and you're right, the exhibit is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. But
Do
I
you
mean,
have any? Sorry, go ahead.
oh, yeah. Besides, author talks, we have local historians come in and give lectures on whatever their special, their focus on Wyandotte
Oh,
County or
sorry, I
Kansas
think
City
we
history.
lost the recording. Hang on, that it's not supposed to be. All right, and we're back. So I
Okay.
don't know what we lost. What were you saying again about other programming?
I mean, we do all kinds of other programs where we have local historians come in and give lectures on history, or we've had genealogy specialists, do programs on genealogy research. Gosh, what else have we done? I know I'm not thinking of everything now.
Sorry, it's because I got you on the spot.
Right, exactly. I do a lot of, like I said, I do a lot of genealogy help sessions. I have a drop-in session every Tuesday morning where people can just come in and, if they're having a problem with their genealogy research, they've hit a brick wall or they don't know where else to look, they can come in and bring whatever they have, and I'll sort of help them kind of walk through what they've done so far and see if I can help them, like, with a fresh set of eyes on their research. I've done some classes on digital preservation or digital personal archiving. How do what do you do with all your emails and all your photographs, and how do you keep that organized and make sure you have backups? So I'll do technology classes like that sometimes. Yeah.
Do you have any programs scheduled coming up?
We do actually. Our arts and communications librarian she's scheduled a traveling exhibit for the West Wyandotte branch about the Underground Railroad and their photographs of what those Underground Railroad sites look like today. So she asked me to see if I could create some like a local tie-in. So we have a couple of programs coming up on June 23rd. Nedra Bonds, who's a fiber artist and quilter who's from Quindaro, she's going to be giving a talk on the history of the Quindaro town site and creating art that illustrates local history. And she's really well known for this quilt that she made about the Quindaro township. So she's going to bring that with her and talk about some of her community quilt workshops and community education that she's done, art education that she's done. And then and that'll be at the West Wyandotte Library. And on July 7th, there's going to be another program, a virtual lecture. It'll be via Zoom by Nicole Etchison, who's a professor at Ball State University, and she's going to talk about the Quindaro Township as well. So it's great to work with other staff on projects and kind of tie-ins, bring a local history tie-in into that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have like a dream program that you would like to do someday?
Oh my gosh, yes. I have big plans if we can ever do them. What I would really love to do is, we've done some oral history programs in the past. We worked with Freedom's Frontier National Heritage Area on a Quindaro oral history, a series of Quindaro oral history days where we invited people from the community to come in and talk about, their ties to Quindaro, whether they're from Quindaro or they had, family ties to Quindaro, just to talk about those relationships and that history. And so we recorded probably I want to say about 40 oral histories that we have here, housed here at the library. I would love to do
Not
more of
bad.
that. I would really love to be able to just have we are we're going to start to do some podcasting. So we have a small little sound studio, and I would just love to be able to invite people to come in and do kind of like StoryCorps recordings, interview their family members or their friends about local history. And I would love to have like a digitization center in the Kansas room where people can bring in their photographs. And it'd be great to just do the whole shebang, the oral history, scan the photographs and get kind of like a time capsule recording and digitization project so people can really record and preserve their family histories.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So we'll see if that happens, but that's something I would love to do eventually.
Well, let me know when you get the podcast up. I'd love to listen to it.
Yeah, we'll do.
And how are y'all funded?
We're probably, I think we are the only library system in the country that is under the authority of a local school district. So the KCPL school board is our governing body. So I think our budget is overseen by the school district, but I know that library funding comes from mill levies and taxes. I don't know the full extent or range of that, but that's kind of in a nutshell where our funding comes from.
All right. Well, in that case, you might not know the answer to this, but I don't know. I guess I never quite thought about it where funding for a library would typically come from, since it's a school. Do you
Yeah.
know, does that make it more difficult for you in comparison to the others?
I don't know. I don't know if it makes it more difficult. It's just kind of
Well, I just
it's a
imagine there has to be some kind of difference, and I'm wondering how that plays out.
Yeah,
Can you
I think that maybe other library systems get their funding from, the local government or from the county. Yeah, I don't worry about the budget side of it so much. I worry about the reference and programming side.
I understand. I didn't have any other questions. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I really hope that I can, spread the word more about the Kansas Room and make people more aware that we're here. I think that a lot of people are familiar with the Missouri Valley Special Collections at the
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City Public Library because it is such a large collection. And, we're pretty small by comparison, but we have a lot here. And I just want to welcome everyone to come visit and see what we have here.
Okay. I do have one other question, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you do anything with your art? I mean, you said you have art history background, so like
Oh,
you're doing programming stuff, but is there anything
right.
else you do that's artsy?
I just do things for myself. Like I've recently become interested in textiles and fiber arts, so I've started sewing and, doing some quilting. And so I'd like to do some of that here at the library too, like offer some, quilting or sewing classes, because there is also such a rich history with quilting and, the history of the designs, and you can, there's quilting history that ties into the Underground Railroad and symbolism there. So I don't know. That's like it's an aspect of creativity and art that also has a lot of history tied into it. So I think maybe that's part of what got me interested in it. But yeah, that's what I do personally.
Hmm. That's cool. And you said your upcoming program had to do with that, right?
Yes, yeah.
Nice.
The Nedra Bonds, she'll be here talking about all of that, quilting history and Quindaro and the Quindaro quilt, and
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
yeah, she's fantastic. She's had her quilts on some of her community quilt projects on display at the library before.
Okay. Well, short and sweet. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay.
All right, and that'll be all for today. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hey y'all, it's your host Laura. Just wanted to say I really enjoyed that episode. Thank you again to Anne for joining me. And if you enjoyed it, then thank you for your support, first of all. Bjorn, Joan, and Gina, I appreciate y'all so much. Please make sure that you like and subscribe my Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and Tumblr pages. Also have a YouTube. And make sure you rate and review me on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. 5-star ratings, please. Thank you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email me at homegrownkcpodcast@gmail.com, or you can email me through the Patreon website. You could also slide into one of my DMs. If you want to check out some cool swag on the merchandise store, that's Zazzle.com, ZAZZle.com/store/homegrown_KC_store. A warm thank you to my sister-in-law Sarah McCombs for the creation of my logo, the Dear Misses for the use of their song Kansas City as the intro and outro music of my show, to local libraries which enabled me to gather all my research, and to you. Cheers.
Seem to shake this feeling, and I can't seem to get you off my mind.